Okay, great. So welcome everyone. Thanks for bearing with us. We ironed that out. So yeah, we just had a great intro from Rob, who's going to talk to us about branding. My name is Hannah. I'm pretty new to the Open IDEO team, coming from a background in arts education and marketing, and excited to be working on outreach and partnerships with this group and starting with this challenge today. And so what we're going to do on this call is sort of follow along pretty closely with the toolkit that you guys received. So if you do have that, feel free to pull it up. You won't necessarily need to look at it, but that's just sort of the order that we'll go in. And basically what we'll do is we'll talk about our recommendations on the Open IDEO side. Of course, they're just recommendations, and then definitely after each section, open it up to you guys, either for questions or for you to share ideas about what you're doing, because you're the ones on the ground and probably have really amazing information to share with each other. Let me make sure I've got that going. Yeah, and before we jump in too much, just wanted to start it off by saying that you're all amazing. We're so excited about all of the different events we have going. I think we have over 150 happening around the world at this point. Really enthusiastic organizers, lots of great ideas. We've really enjoyed emailing with you guys and hearing about all the different things that are happening. So just huge kudos to you for all of your work. We have someone sharing their screen. Good picture. Samuel, can you unshare your screen while we go through the presentation? Okay. Well, Samuel, can you try unsharing your screen? You're blocking me from being able to get in here. Okay, well, anyway, we'll just continue through while that's going. Rob, do you want to jump into branding and guidelines?
Yeah, would you like me to start with that first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, guys. So in general, we're obviously trying our best to make sure that we are aligning on what the events are all about. So I'll just quickly talk about the branding. Now, if you should have received an email from Scott, really outlining the general kind of guidelines that we guys are giving you for doing the events. In there should have kind of 4 messages. 1 says the logo usage. Number 2 says the messaging. Number 3 says content and social. And number 4 is about the Open IDEO introduction. Yeah, so if you guys haven't got that, send me an email and I'll definitely send that to you, or just write your email address there, and also you guys have written format of what I'm trying to outline for you guys. So the first thing is we have official chapters all around the world. So there are official Open IDEO communities around the world. And of course, some of you guys here are from chapters, and some of you guys are just running your events for the first time or maybe the second time, but not currently an official chapter. So when it comes to branding your event, if you're going to be making an event poster or any kind of marketing materials, please make sure that if you are a chapter, you're using your chapter logo. But if you are not an official chapter, then you are not allowed to be using the Open IDEO logo. Okay, so this is actually quite important. It's, for example, imagine you're going to do an event about redesigning Coca-Cola bottles. If you don't work for Coca-Cola, you can't grab Coke's logo and say, this is my Coca-Cola event, correct? So that's kind of the same situation that we have right now. So please do not take the Open IDEO logo and put it on your event posters, because it gives people off the impression that you guys are working for Open IDEO, or this is an official Open IDEO event, which makes it obviously a very big deal, because IDEO has businesses all around the world, and we want to make sure we're conscious of that and we're not breaking any kind of rules. Yeah, does that make sense for everybody so far? The next thing we're going to talk about very quickly is just the messaging. Okay, so it's very important that the events that we're doing here, they are not for financial or personal gain or anything like that. We're not trying to pocket money or open a consultancy business based on this type of thing. So make sure that you are saying that this is a volunteer-run event. Sorry, somebody's audio is still on. They could just mute that. It would be easier so that you can hear me. Just if you're not speaking, just please mute your microphone. Yeah. And so for messaging, just make sure you're saying that it's a community-driven, volunteer-run event, and so everyone's clear on what this type of thing is. You don't want to be misrepresenting yourself in any way, because if some people think that you're working for IDEO, then you start having to deal with like, oh, can you get me a job at IDEO, or these type of networking questions, which you definitely don't want to be dealing with, right? So just make that very clear straight away at the beginning of your event that this is a volunteer-run and community-driven thing, okay? Now, the second thing, if you guys are going to be posting this stuff on content and social, we definitely encourage you guys to do that, right? Social impact is really important if it only can spread and impact more people. So definitely be taking photos and videos. Ensure that you guys are just going to be using the same tags. So for this, the hashtag will be tracking plastics. So hashtag tracking plastics. And if you want to send it another one, you can obviously do it like at Open Idea. So obviously Open Idea knows that you guys are what you guys are up to. We can see what you guys are doing. It helps support you guys, promote you guys if you, when we see the awesome things that you guys are getting up to. And the last thing, if you guys never have introduced Open Idea before, or you're trying to tell your community what Open Idea is or the challenge, there's a very quick 2-sentence or 1-sentence kind of brief about what Open Idea is, and I put that in the chat. So Open Idea is IDEA's open innovation portfolio, empowering people to design solutions on the world's toughest challenges, and we're working with partners around the world to bring these solutions to life, okay? So you can just throw that on a slide if you want, and you can just say that if you don't know how to introduce Open Idea. And of course, feel free to use your own words to describe it if you like, but this is just something basic that we give you all if you want to use that instead. So that's generally speaking the branding guidelines that we have, and we want to support you guys as much as possible. But just to make sure that you are working within the guidelines of the Open Idea umbrella, because of course we're dealing with a global community, and we want to make sure everyone is being consistent and working towards a common goal. Okay. So does that make sense so far, guys? Yeah. Everyone makes sense? All right. So if you have any questions at all, even in the slightest, feel free to email me. I will post my email right again over here. So it's rhan@ideo.com. And feel free to contact me in any way, and I'll try to support you if you have any other questions, okay? So back to you, Hannah.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Samuel, it looked like you were raising your hand. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? Okay, not hearing from Samuel. It looks like we have a typed question from Michael. On logo usage again, just confirming that anyone is allowed to use the logo as long as they belong to a chapter. Rob, do you want to take that?
Okay, so we'll talk about the chapters again later on in the call, but essentially if you're from an Open Idea chapter, you should already know that you will be using your Open Idea chapter specific logo. So Open Idea Shanghai chapter, Open Idea Barcelona chapter. That's the logo that you should be using. You should not be using the Open Idea official like umbrella logo, the master logo, not the one. So just use the one with the chapter inside the logo, not the official singular Open Idea logo. Does it make sense?
Awesome. Okay, cool. Samuel, I do see your message. Maybe try closing out of the program, out of Zoom, and opening it up again. Sometimes that resets your audio. But we are recording it, so if you're not able to hear it now, you'll get a video. So don't worry about it too much. Okay. We're going to keep plugging through. So the next piece that we wanted to talk about is before the event, which is now for some of you, for those who have events today, might be a little bit coming after the fact, but basically just wanting to help you think about the different pieces that can go into planning your event. So wanting to cover some frequently asked questions that we've been getting as far as planning is concerned. So thinking about spaces, we've certainly had some people ask what kinds of spaces they should look for, especially in thinking about keeping it affordable or free. So we definitely encourage you to look at community spaces, so think about parks, community centers, etc. Private spaces, either homes, maybe your office has a conference room that you can use. Do you have any communal spaces in your area, co-working spaces, innovation hubs, schools, universities, and any other creative ideas that you have? I'll open it up in a second for folks to give their ideas and talk about where they're hosting, so that can hopefully help spark some ideas for others as well. You'll also want to just think about your scope really carefully, especially when you're looking at a space. So think about how many people you really do want to have at your event. Sometimes it's tempting to think about, I want to host the biggest event possible and have the biggest impact, but sometimes a larger impact can come from a smaller group because you can really have a nice, intimate discussion. So it's really up to you, but do think that through. How many people will your space allow? What makes sense for the format that you've chosen? How do you have like a short list of desired attendees? How many people are on that list? And how many can you reasonably manage as an organizer? Because I'm sure, as many of you know, event organizing can lead to a lot of emails back and forth. You know, if every single person that is attending your event is emailing you, are you able to handle that? Or do you have a system that's going to help you get through that? So just thinking about those different pieces as you sort of scope out your event, pick your date and time, and pick your space. As far as advertising is concerned, we've had some questions about whether Open IDEO is going to help with that. So we're not going to offer help directly, but marketing is an area of expertise that I have and many people on the team. So if you do have questions, definitely reach out to me. My email is at the top of the chat, I believe, and hopefully you've all received an email from me if you're here. So I am more than happy to help talk you through publicizing your event. A couple of strategies that are recommendations that I have to help make things nice and smooth is make sure that you have one page where you're collecting RSVPs and that all of your communication links there. So either pick an Eventbrite or a Facebook event. If you are doing a Facebook event in addition to your Eventbrite, just make sure that the Facebook event links to your Eventbrite, but make it really clear where you're collecting RSVPs so you have a list of people who are coming that you can reach out to after the fact and have their contact information, just to make sure that you're not terribly surprised by the number of people who do end up showing up. Some other advertising ideas. So if you might want to find connected people or organizations and have them do some of the outreach for you. So if you find an incubator or an accelerator or an organization in your area that has a lot of contacts and they're willing to send out an email, put your event in their newsletter, send out a tweet, then that's going to amplify your advertising much more than you sending out individual asks to different people. You can, of course, send a blast email to folks who might be interested, and you can ask them for two things. You can ask them to sign up for your event. You can also ask them to share the event with 3 other people who might be interested. So again, trying not to carry all the advertising on your shoulder, but asking other people in your networks to help you. Of course, sharing on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Posting on local event calendars. If you do send a lot of emails in your work or day-to-day life, you can link to your event in your email signature. So those are just a few. Of course, definitely going to open it up to hear any other ideas that you might have. Just going to go through a couple more things before we open it up on the before the event section. So you're going to want to make sure you send a reminder to your attendees. And in your reminder, think about what you want them to do to prepare for the event. If you want them to come having done one of the pieces of research scoped in the toolkit, then make sure that that's really clear and what you want the deliverable to be that they will bring. Maybe you want them to just do an hour of online research on plastic packaging. Maybe you want them to bring an example of a cool company that's doing this kind of work. So just think about what would be helpful to get your conversation going, and ask them to sign up on Open IDEO in advance so that they're able to submit their ideas and thoughts after you finish your event. And then also just being sure to assign roles and make sure people know what they're responsible for. So this is spec'd in the toolkit, but making sure that you have a facilitator or organizer. I'm guessing many of you will be playing that role. And then make sure that your storytellers, the people attending your event, know what they're there for, what their role is. They're helping with the conversation. We certainly want to hear from them afterwards. They can upload a post to Open IDEO and then join the global conversation about what's going on. So that's sort of the before the event section. I'm going to look back at the chat here. It looks like some people are talking, but if you have something...
I'm answering most of the questions there.
Thank you, Rob. So if anyone has anything that they want to add, tactics that they have for finding spaces, advertising the event, or any of the other sort of before the event pieces, either raise your hand or type into the chat box and we can have some other folks share. Anybody? How about just specifically around meeting spaces? Can somebody share what type of space they'll be meeting in?
just going to quickly address a question that some people are asking in the chat. So there are going to be multiple phases for the plastics challenge, okay? And so it will be the research, then ideation, and then feedback, refinement, and then final ideas. I'll give you guys the rough dates right now that are going to be happening in the future. So it will be right there, as you guys can see. And so when you guys are doing your events now in this couple week, of course, you should be focusing mostly on just design research, coming up with insights and finding issues and problems, and really doing that for the first phase, which is obviously research. Then later on, if you're doing more events or event series, which many of you guys are doing, then you can go in coinciding with those dates with the ideas phase and the refinement phase, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense for everybody? So because there's multiple phases, you can do your events alongside them, or you can just do one-off. It's up to you in your communities. Many people are actually doing events sequentially along the same challenge phase timeline, okay? So it's up to you how many you choose to do. Obviously, the more you do, the better, the more engaged your community will be.
Yeah, that's such a great clarification. And one thing that we definitely want to hit home with the events that are happening in the research phase is it's really tempting with a challenge like this with a prize to start thinking about ideas right off the bat, but to really use the design thinking model that, that Open IDEO brings, and really just think about this research phase as its own piece and think about the empathetic research that you can do. So awesome, Rob. Thank you for that clarity. If you do have any other questions sort of about, I'm jumping into the specific research events, but if you do have any other questions about the Open IDEO model, or, you know, the process itself, please do jump in, and we can certainly address those. So the next piece that I'm going to jump into, since it doesn't seem like we have any other questions on this piece, is, sorry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jawad from Pakistan. I have a question regarding the Open IDEO chapters. I would like to know if we start off a chapter in Pakistan, specifically in Islamabad. So what would be the process for this, and would it be feasible to start a chapter for this? And is it possible to start a chapter for this?
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about the chapter related stuff at the end of the call. So anything you guys have related to chapters, you can stick around for that, and we'll talk specifically about how the chapter process works then.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so just to keep plugging through the events itself for the research phase. So the next piece to talk through is the event itself. So when it's actually happening. So again, just talking through the toolkit, you're going to want to start with some kind of introduction. So introducing yourself and the challenge, setting clear goals for what you want to accomplish. So really similarly to what Rob was just saying and what we were just talking about with the Open IDEO model, if this specific event is around the research phase, then that's awesome. You want to make it clear that the goal of that event is around research, it's around empathy, it's around starting a really good conversation about this topic and then moving into the other phases later. We recommend following that up with a fun, creative icebreaker to get people in a good mindset for this kind of work. And then the conversation itself. So that's really the meat of whatever the event is that you're doing. So we gave 2 different options in the toolkit. And those are definitely conversation starters. So you can think about what you want your conversation to look like and how you want that that conversation to grow from the 2 different ideas from the 2 different models that we hoped would plant a lot of different seeds, either by tracking the different plastics in your life or by interviewing or visiting people who work in the plastics world. And then we also definitely recommend saving time to post on Open IDEO so that as these conversations are fresh in people's minds and they have something to share either from their own research or from a conversation or a smaller group that they worked with during your event, that they can post that right away on Open IDEO and make sure that they're getting the conversation going with people on a global level, especially knowing we have so many people in this group. Probably wanting to hear from each other's different events and what's coming out of their work. And then just being sure that you're concluding with clear next steps. So how to keep in touch. If you are going to be one of these folks doing multiple events throughout the challenge, that's fantastic. And make sure you let people know that you want to host another one or another one will be coming up and that you'll be in touch, or keep in touch through Open IDEO or whatever you want the call to action to be. Make sure that people leave knowing what that is. So we'll open it up now for questions about the event itself, if anyone has any questions. All good about the event itself? Give it one more minute. Yes.
Actually, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Hannah. Actually, yes. About the tracking plastic diary, the model sheet you sent us.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to send this before to the person who will attend the event, or is it okay if we talk about this during the event and ask people to track this for the week after the event?
I think that's totally up to you. So what you want your event to be like. I imagine that if people have done this ahead of time, if you've had time to send them that worksheet and they're coming, having tracked their plastics for a week and have information to discuss, that could be really rich. But also if you want to prep them with some other ideas and then leave them with that as homework, I think that's also a format that could be effective. So it's absolutely up to you and what works with the resources and the time that you have.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question as well.
Absolutely.
I'm a little confused about the timeline. So in the initial emails, it says host these events between this week and this week. But then now I'm also hearing we have to advertise the event, and then we have to do some pre-planning or research ahead of time to talk about the event. How can we both plan the event, have the event, and do research ahead of time and advertise for people to come? The timelines just aren't clear to me. Could you please help clarify that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the research event, so the 18th through the 28th is sort of just a loose, like that we launched this big event today, or there's a launch event today in London, sort of launching the challenge, and it starts today. So the idea was in the first 10 days of the challenge to have a lot of different event bursts to build momentum. When we say event, it can take a lot of different forms. We definitely don't want you to feel like you have to have hundreds and hundreds of people coming to a widely advertised event. The advertising section was just some ideas to help you if you are having trouble building up interest and you wanted to grow the number of people who are coming. Your event could be 4 to 25 plus people. So don't worry about thinking about this having a huge group. The idea is to just start these research conversations for the research phase of the challenge. So I guess I would say if you are doing an event in these first 10 days, think about whatever scope is reasonable for you. We have some people who've been working on this already and sort of building these out, and they might be heading toward a bigger event. If that's not reasonable for you, if you're sort of just getting started, then think about what is possible in the time frame allowed. And if it is not working for you, if you aren't sort of puzzling it out, reach out to us and we can talk to you about alternative dates, about what would work best for you, like what is your goal event, what would you like to see, and then we'll help support you in making that happen. So we can have a nice one-on-one conversation about that.
Precisely. So I'll just add that again, guys. So we obviously think it's ideal that everyone does events around the world at the same period of time. That way, if you're all posting and everyone's doing it, there's a lot of momentum and everyone can get good synergy, right? So that's the ideal recommendation. But of course, people are busy. People cannot all have the same time frame. So if you cannot do it during that recommended period, that's fine. You can do your event at a later date. That's not a big issue. But of course, we have that recommendation simply for everyone's benefit. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Did we have any other questions about this section?
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if this is exactly for this section because I have a question about the scope.
Sure.
The challenge. Because I've been reading and there are 3 persona cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 user cases. But we also like to make it local to Barcelona, and I presume many chapters would like to do that. So I was wondering, is the idea that because I can see that they can also be applied in Barcelona, these cases. So can we just do some research, like empathizing, and then reframe the persona a little bit, but towards the same sub-challenge? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Rob, do you have any insights there? I can certainly bubble that up and ask.
Sorry, I was actually answering some questions. I didn't hear that one. What was it specifically?
So basically my question is, the challenge is around 3 specific user cases, right? And I can see that each of these cases can be applied to all countries, I think, all over the world. So would that be the idea that you take these specific, for example, there was one about coffee lids and straws, right? So we can, in Barcelona, then investigate how people use them, and then we can create a persona, for example, in a local persona around these user cases. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so absolutely. So obviously, you know, there's a global challenge, right, that everyone is dealing with. But when it goes down into closer details, every local community from Barcelona to Shanghai to Nairobi has different user cases. So that's why we would love for you guys to localize that and from your understanding and from your situation and then post that.
Yeah.
Right? So absolutely, you can localize, but some people don't want to localize. Some people are fine at staying at the global level. It is completely up to you. But of course, we do recommend to localize.
And can we also go a little bit broader than these 3 user cases?
Sure. Absolutely. You can go broader, but the reason why we give those use cases is often because the challenge partner is looking for something very specific in those realms. So obviously, the closer you stick towards those realms, the more likely the judges are going to be looking at yours more highly, right? So it's up to you, but of course, those are the recommended, right?
Yeah, and I would definitely look at the challenge brief. For this particular challenge, there's definitely a desire for, and certainly, well, even more than a desire, but they're looking for not so much the end of pipeline solutions with sort of recycling receptacles as much as the plastic packaging itself. So if you are starting to think about that piece and like looking at changing the use cases, just keep the challenge brief in mind.
Yeah, so obviously the closer you stick to it, the more likely you will win, if you want to win, right?
Yeah, maybe one more small related question, because I saw the video as well, and it said smarter distributions, and I'm not completely sure how that links to the challenge, like distributions, or maybe is it meant more like in packaging?
Yeah, I mean, so like the larger how might we for the challenge is around how do we get products to people without producing plastic waste. And so there are just a lot of ways that, you know, plastic becomes involved in getting products to people. My interpretation of this, and I can certainly bubble it up to those who were more involved in creating that video, is just that I think in the process there are a lot of different types of plastic packaging that end up on different products in different stages that maybe we don't see. So like behind the scenes at a larger store, there's plastic film going around, like different cans and things like that. And there might be other examples, but I think that there is a lot of extra packaging happening throughout the pipeline. So it's encouraging you to think about and research those pieces. But I will bubble up that question just to be sure that that is exactly what they were referring to.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Any other questions on this section? Cool. I know we're at 10:30, so I am just going to move through and just talk about after the event really quickly so that we can get to the chapter piece, because I know there are a lot of questions there. So just after the event, you probably want to send a follow-up email or message thanking everyone. You as a host, we would love to hear from on Open IDEO, so do be sure to share your experience with us. And we certainly encourage you to stay involved throughout the challenge. So I just sort of skimmed some of the questions that were coming through, and it looks like there are some about, you know, should you stay involved, or is there a requirement to stay involved throughout the whole challenge? Of course, you're not required to stay with us, but we would love it if you would throughout the entire methodology, and that sort of makes it all the stronger if everyone is doing all these event bursts together and they're talking to each other during the research phase and the platform, and then we move into the idea phase based on those conversations, and so on and so on and so on. So we'd certainly love it if you would stay involved and continue to host events, but of course there's no, we're certainly not going to force you to stay with us throughout if things come up. So I will open it up for questions there, and then we'll have Rob talk about our chapters really briefly.
Okay, would you like me to do the chapters now, or does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm seeing any hands up, so why don't you go ahead and do the chapters, and then we'll do a larger Q&A.
Okay, right. So guys, so you guys might have heard about the chapters, or maybe some of you guys have not. I'm going to send you the link of the beta website that we have. We've been operating on this for actually a couple of years now, but it will be officially launched soon. So what the chapters are is we've been having open IDEO communities, just like yourselves, spring up around the world for many years now. Okay, so I was running the Shanghai chapter myself back in the day. And what this is essentially Sometimes volunteers around the world, they just want to do one event because they're very dedicated to just maybe plastics or maybe recycling or food waste or something very specific. But sometimes we have people who are very, very dedicated just to building communities around social impact in general, and they really want to up their level. We are 100% empowered and very excited to really support these types of people. And that's really what our chapter program is about, right? So what we do is, if there's people out there who really want to take it up another level, build a leadership team and build a community where you constantly have events and constantly have a lot of people coming to do work on these social impact challenges to help your local community, that's exactly what the chapter platform is. So right there is a link that I posted in the chat. You can click there and you can see our chapter section. Now we have chapters around the world. It's growing a lot. We just onboarded 3 chapters in the call just then. I see some of you in the call right now. And so the idea with the chapters is essentially to take it to the next level. And if you're interested in becoming a chapter, the process is very simple. I'll send you another link right now, and it's for our thing called Outposts. So if you believe you really want to open a chapter, our application process is pretty much you run one event that related to something to do with Open Idea. For example, this Tracking Plastics event, and then you just post your event results on there, and so we can see that you've actually done something. Then later on, we will contact you and take you through the application process, where you will, one, need to build a chapter leadership team. So we often recommend there being at least 3 to 4 people in your team that can constantly manage this community. And then we'll take you through certain types of agreements and guidelines, and we'll then train you and provide you all the support and resources we can as an Open Idea community to then empower your community. So with that kind of support that we give you, we then obviously expect you guys to be doing regular events in kind of a mutual beneficial relationship. So that's kind of how that works. Is there any specific questions you guys have regarding that, the process, or anything else you want to know about chapters? I can go through some case studies, for example. Right now, there's the Nairobi chapter, and there's the Boston chapter, and there's the Shanghai chapter, and they're doing all sorts of great things for the Tracking Plastics event. Right now, Shanghai is opening a hackathon. They're partnering with the #1 biggest China food supplier, which does heaps of plastics for takeaway. They're bringing that person to the event. They're bringing Vans, industrial designer, to the event. They're bringing lots of people, and they're doing a design hackathon, I believe, for a couple of days, and that's how they're doing the stuff related to Tracking Plastics. The people over in Boston, or I believe it is Detroit, yes, it's Boston, what they're doing is they're partnering with Impact Hub, and they're partnering with Green Cambridge, and they are doing ongoing event series related to that. I believe Detroit is doing discovery tours. They're walking around with a group of people around the city, looking at the plastic system and really going through a deep dive and understanding through that. So there's a lot of things that the chapters are doing. It's very different. Everyone's doing things in their own way, and that's really the kind of level that we have in our chapters right there. So any questions at all, feel free to hit it in the chat. If not, then I'll pass it back over to Hannah.
Yeah, and basically what we have time for now is just an open Q&A. So about the events, about the chapters that Rob just talked about. I know we're over time, so if people need to head out, please don't worry, we'll send out a recording. But definitely just want to make sure that you guys are all in a place where you feel like you can successfully run your events, because we are so very excited to see all of them happen. Anybody?
Okay.
Great. Well, it was awesome seeing all of your faces. Look for an email from us with some follow-ups, and do feel free to reach out. Rob and I both shared our email addresses. We'd love to hear from you and help you with anything we can. Have a great day.
I have a question.
Oh, we have a question. Okay.
Yeah, I was on mute, so I see that there is a difference between the timeline that Rob sent and the timeline in the Open Idea platform. So I want to know which one is the good one.
So the one that I sent should be the most updated ones. Things change as we make discussions with the challenge partner, and obviously as the members develop. So take that those dates as a rough guideline. They're not 100% set in stone, but definitely try to work off the one I just posted inside that chat there.
All right. Okay.
And we had a question about, will there be an opportunity for support calls like this in later stages? Yeah, I mean, basically, we saw the need for this call because we had lots of different questions come in, and it was great to all get on the same page. We're trying to figure out where you guys are at in what kind of assistance you need. So definitely reach out to us, and if we start seeing a need at a later stage to have another call, that's absolutely something that we can support and do. And then it looks like an iPhone from Colombia has some questions, but there's no name with it.
Hi. Hi, friends. Hi, nice to meet you, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Romy Shriver. I'm calling from Colombia. We are doing this environmental education project in the Pacific Coast, and we're doing these beach cleanups and making art with the plastic. So we are pretty much the only group that is really worried about the plastic situation in Colombia. Our project is called Eco Pacifico, and we are going to, I received the information about this meeting really late, so I don't know if we are going to have time to make a big event, but I want to make, like, I am already calling a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge about the plastic to make like a meeting to create a much bigger, larger event with more people invited, like a more local big thing. So I want to know from this group of amazing people that you guys are, what can I have your support also, like calling this event later if it's not during this timeline that all the big events are happening?
Did anyone else? Sorry, so your question for the group is, can they have your support?
Yeah, can in your group of can you also name this meeting in your website? Can you call it in? Can you say like, oh, in Colombia everybody's welcome to join this meeting, this event is gonna be, because I don't think the big event is going to happen between today and the 28th of May. The big one, no. But a small one, yes. A small one with key important characters from the city, yes. That one we're going to do like on Tuesday or on Wednesday, because we have a journey on the 25th. So, but I want to plan a big one like with people from the mayor's office and like big people, and call their attention.
Okay, can you email me directly and we can talk about that offline, just so we can get to the
yes
end. But I love your enthusiasm, and we definitely want to help you create the best event that we can.
Yes, we are an international group, and it's very important that we stick together to support each other as much as possible.
Okay.
You guys can count on us. Any way we can help from Colombia, we will help you guys with your projects everywhere.
You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank
awesome.
You. Okay, it looks like Samuel has his hands raised. Samuel, did you want to ask a question? No. All right. I think we're set then, unless anyone else has any last pressing questions. We will close it up for the day.
Yeah, but if you guys do have any questions later on, you can feel free to email us, and we'll try to support you guys in as many ways as we possibly can, okay?
Awesome. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, friends. Bye-bye.
Bye.